it's not something that I feel like I would honestly even partake in that commencement. I don't see myself being there.
And Ebokian sees Biden's visit as a campaign stop and a political tool in an election year.
At the end of the day, this is kind of like something that's on his political agenda to kind of maybe get more young black voters or something.
What does it mean, as we've heard before, to be a black man who loves his country, even if it doesn't love him back in equal measure?
Man, nay, as a human being, to call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip.
Joy, a day earned, not given. We gather on this Sunday morning, because if we're in church, perhaps it would be this reflection.
Okay, folks, so the divider-in-chief, Joe Biden, this slimy eel went down to Morehouse the other day and dressed up like a KKK guy. Yeah, I know what it really is. I know it's a graduation outfit. But with his rhetoric and divisive rhetoric, pitting Americans against each other based on immutable characteristics, it's dying and it's almost dead now at this point. And so let's take a look at this. Yes, Biden at Morehouse College tells black students they're victims and America hates them. This didn't quite go as well as some thought, because right now the left is divided based on the support for Palestinians or the support for Israel. It's really come to a front, and people just aren't buying it anymore. They're not buying it, and they're sick of the wars. And black people know that they are the first ones to be replaced by illegal aliens. Yeah, I'm calling them illegal aliens because that's what they are. They are being replaced. And so the Democrats are giving up. They're saying, screw you. We used you for all these years. We destroyed your communities. We jailed you for longer sentences than was necessary when we jailed you. And they're done. And I believe there's nobody who detests and loathes Americans more right now than this man right here, Joe Biden. I believe he loathes them. And I would say the other person who loathes Americans would be like Nancy Pelosi, and then throw the squad in there too. This is a person who hates America. And that's all there is to it. You know, you just go, okay, yeah, we have a leader who absolutely loathes the country. He loathes white people, black people, Mexicans. He doesn't care. This guy is an absolute bigot all around. And so, as it says here, it will come as no surprise to you, dear readers, that we're living in the stupidest possible timeline. But it seems like every time this writer says that, Biden comes screeching in like a geriatric Leroy Jenkins and says, hold my Metamucil. Biden gave a speech to black students at Morehouse College that is just peak Democrat. This writer has done her best to transcribe the relevant portion of the speech, but y'all know how Biden speaks. That's funny. And of course, it's divisive because this is all the Democrats have. That's all they have. And we are getting to a point, folks, where it isn't even about that, Democrats, Republicans. It's just about populists. It's about citizenship. It's about Americans fighting and standing up for their rights and standing up for the Constitution, whether you're liberal, whether you're conservative, whether you're libertarian. At this point, we're just fighting an entity that is pretty darn evil. That's how I see it. Let's push the politics aside. This is just an evil entity. If you push hatred for the last so many decades, there's a lot of fruition along the way because of it. But now there's many black people in black communities who are just realizing, yeah, I've been brainwashed. And they're getting red pilled. So he says, Biden said, you missed your high school graduation. You started college. You got the gist. I'm not going to read this thing. You saw this part of the speech. Okay. I'll just, he just says at the end, the trail of broken promises. And I wanted to highlight this. The trail of broken promises still leaves black communities behind. What is democracy? You have to be 10 times better than anyone else to get a fair shot. Most of all, what does it mean? As you've heard before, to be a black man who loves his country, even if it doesn't love him back in equal measure. Well, the problem is, Joe, is you don't give a shit about these people. You don't give a shit about Americans, period. And the first neighborhoods that are being replaced by, en masse by illegal aliens are black neighborhoods right now. Where is this going on? Chicago and New York, where they have basically shut down school for kids. They're like, no more school because we're going to put the illegal aliens in there. We're going to build giant shelters and apartments in your neighborhoods. Okay, and the criminal illegal aliens are coming into the black neighborhoods, and they're committing crimes against black people now. The Democrats have given up. They've said, okay, I think we have enough people that we've let into the southern border now that we're not going to really rely on black votes anymore. So we're done pandering. And so it's just the hypocrisy. There's so many layers in this cake of hypocrisy. It's stunning. But as it says here, following where I left off, where do we even start? My favorite part was the repetitive, what is democracy? And then him saying, most of all, what does it mean? Without actually ever discussing what democracy is or how our country is a constitutional republic rather than a democracy. Yes, the United States has never been a democracy. It never will be. It is a constitutional republic. That's it. So, but to be fair, that would probably be a Herculean feat at this point for poor Joe to try to explain without a nap, some ice cream, and a week's worth of preparation. Cat Turd is popular on Twitter. He says, this is sickening. And it is sickening. It is sickening. Everybody's getting tired of it in America. We're tired of Democrat leadership pitting everyone against each other and going, yeah, but what do you bring proactively to the table? Have you improved neighborhoods? Have you improved anything? No, you haven't. Gosh, Detroit was Democrat since the 1960s. Look where it is now. It is a hole. It is renowned. It's infamous for being a hole. When you say Detroit to somebody, they go, ooh, yeah, yikes. It's like my reaction when I hear Newark, New Jersey. It's like, ooh, yeah. Baltimore. These places have been destroyed by Democratic policies. That is a fact, okay? Because they haven't had any Republicans there. But they've said there's this distant group from you, distant in the rural countryside that hates you, this white supremacy thing going on, white supreme pizzas everywhere. And yet now we're going, but where are they? But where? Where? And so is it coming to the point where I don't feel a threat from one certain group. I only feel a threat from the top right now. I looked at Nancy Pelosi's debate with Winston Marshall at the Oxford Hall, wherever it was in Oxford, where they would have those debates. And I kind of came to the conclusion with that there is no greater threat. Climate change, none of these things are a threat as much as these elites like Pelosi and the squad, these people, the people behind these policies are the greatest threat to our existence. And so we make videos and we make awareness. We do have to engage in the lawfare routine. Okay, but I won't advocate for anything else other than civil procedure to deal with this type of stuff. And so, but the threats, we're coming together now going, no, the only real threat is coming from these people themselves who've ingratiated themselves on our money, our taxes, sending billions of dollars to the Ukraine and then laundering it back to themselves. It's getting pretty bad. And even in that speech right there, the clapping was minimal. The pictures from it, and I could make this 3 hours long because there's so much other footage about what really happened at Morehouse College. There were people turning their backs, standing in the crowd. There were many people didn't even attend. The clapping was minimal. People really weren't feeling it. They're like, yeah, we all know that this guy's fake and he's phony and he's just a shell. He's a husk. We know what he's done in the 80s and 90s. We know all the stuff he did to put black men in prison for longer sentences than was appropriate. All these types of things. I think, and so I don't know if these people like anybody. They're just, as long as they keep people divided, yes, that's the plan. But I don't know if they necessarily like anyone. That, I think the grift it's the biggest grift in the history of the United States, is the Democrat Party. The biggest grift you will ever see. And they don't have a plan for building anything. Build Back Better? No, that's what they call it. That has more to do with sending money to Ukraine. The Inflation Reduction Act, that increased inflation. It didn't reduce anything. There is no plan to build this country better. There's a plan to destroy it. Yes, that is the plan. There is no strategy. That's why we haven't seen, like, what is, Trump has some stuff. He's like, I want to do this. It's time to close the border. We have a lot of cleaning up to do. Let's get this country back on track. Let's be energy independent. Let's support small businesses. Let's support different neighborhoods. Let's support blacks. Let's support whites. Let's come together as a country again. There is an actual plan. In fact, he had this thing about the digital constitution. I'll have to get to that in another video, but that was another proposal he had. From the Biden administration, all I see is just race baiting. Just race baiting. So Kristen Hawkins says the race baiting is disgusting. It is. To be fair, it's a major campaign strategy for Democrats for decades. Add to that now appealing to women by setting their hair on fire and telling us we're going to become second-class citizens or chattel if we aren't legally permitted to have our own children killed before they're even born. Cartel California says, dear people of color, when are you going to stop allowing Democrats to insult you? Well, it's happening. There are some, and I think that those people who have said in polls and surveys, black people in America who've said in surveys that they're going to vote for Trump, that has increased now. That has increased to probably significant numbers, maybe 15% to 20% right now, and that's significant. But remember, Democrats, they're turning their backs on black people finally because they have been like, okay, we've filled up the country with enough illegals and enough election rigging that we don't really need the black vote anymore. So we're just going to let them know that this is who we really are. And Malcolm X even said that. He said, I don't trust Republicans, but you know who I really don't trust? The liberal, the American white liberal, because that is a person who will smile at you like the Cheshire Cat and then kill you. This racist POS. All the left cares about is victimizing minorities to keep them down. The racism of the left is mind-boggling. Yep. Joe Biden inspires black graduates at Morehouse College by telling them that they're victims and America hates them. It's incredibly patronizing, condescending, and infantilizing to black Americans to insinuate that they need the Democrats to be successful in life. They don't. In fact, I bet black people would have been able to make more moves forward without Democrats. I'm dead serious. Not even to align themselves, even if you didn't align yourself with any party. But because the majority of blacks in the country have aligned themselves with Democrats for the last long time, multiple decades, we can see the end result, and it's disaster. It is absolute disaster. Let this be a lesson for every civilization. It is a disaster. And there's been a lot of suffering on their end because many people have been pulled into this. Not to mention the other various ways Democrats talk down to black Americans with ideas like they're incapable of getting an ID to vote and other ridiculous notions. Remember, like a week or two ago, Kathy Hochul came out, the governor of New York, and she said, yeah, and there's black people in the Bronx and black people in New York who don't even know what computers are or how to use computers. And I was like, that's how Democrats think of black people. Remember when they did that thing where they surveyed a bunch of kids on college campuses and they were like, do you think, I think it was something like, do black people do black people need ID? Is it unfair to make black people show ID when they go to vote? And the consensus was, I mean, among professors and students, shocker, they were like, well, black people don't know how to get an ID. They don't have offices near them. Well, I don't have an office near me either. But black people don't know how to get an ID. They don't have an ID. Basically it was like black people are illiterate and can't read and don't know how to do stuff. And then the same guy, he went and interviewed a bunch of people in Harlem, black people in Harlem, and they're like, do you think you should have an ID to vote? And they're like, hell yeah, of course. I have my ID right here, man. I got my driver's license right here. So, yeah, it's amazing what Marxism, the destruction Marxism can do. Derek Anderson, the DA, says, you know what the best way to keep people being perpetual victims? Constantly and consistently telling them they are victims. And this is what the Democrats have. That's all the Democrats have. If they don't resuscitate the body of racism, they don't continually revive this corpse and keep it alive like the zombie effect, they have nothing. There's nothing. So SRT 126 says, sources say that Joe Biden took credit for every diploma in the room by stating, I told you that you were just as bright and talented as white kids. Yeah, I remember that. Hey, remember that gem of a quote? Such an uplifting speech full of hate and division. I think every speech he's given is full of division because they've realized there is no strategy left. There's nothing positive for them to do. I mean, remember that speech he gave when he had the red optics, the red, I don't know what it was. There was red in the background. It was given in Pennsylvania a while ago. And then he had the Marines and he was like banging his fist and saying the greatest threat in America are these white people. Yeah, this is not a leader. I've never seen a leader I've never seen that as an example of good leadership anywhere in my career. I've never seen that in training. So it's revealing. Way to go, Joe. Nothing says your whole world is before you now. Go out and achieve like you are all victims. The usual talking down to black people that we see from Democrats in the presidential election years because Democrats are racists. Yeah. Jeff Carlson says these graduates deserved a positive, hopeful speech, and yet they got this fraud instead. And that's why several of them didn't show up either. I might have to find the interview and stick it in the beginning of this video. If I talk about it now, it may be redundant, but I have to find that where they interviewed a couple of kids and they were like, it's offensive, I'm not going. And then other people turned their backs on Biden during his speech. So good job. Jim Hansen says 2 generations of black kids have grown up hearing they're oppressed, that the 5 remaining white supremacists and the mythical systemic racism are keeping them down. Nothing will get better until this garbage stops. I absolutely agree. Our country will not get better unless this crap stops, unless the Democrats stop resuscitating this corpse. But this is how there's a ton of money and power at the core of this. If you keep people divided, you have some power. You know, there's power other ways, but it's positive. There's power in people working together, people not being pitted against each other. But that power, these people are absolutely averse to that type of power, the power that people have. They absolutely loathe that. This writer honestly can only come up with 3 legit white supremacists, David Duke, Richard Spencer, and that Fuentes kid. And no one cares about them or what they believe. Well, I guess. The tepid response says it all. My God, what an uninspiring words. Biden goes down this road of division every time he gets in front of a black audience. Remember that when he goes, and you'll be in chains. And he talked with that accent. Oh, so gross. Hated that. To listen to him, you'd think we were still in Jim Crow. Oh, the Democrats loved the Jim Crow. Because that's who they were. They were those guys that wanted to keep black people oppressed. These are the people who want to keep black people oppressed. They always have been. There was no great switch in the 60s or 70s. Was no great switch from, well, the KKK Democrats, those were different. There was a big switch. None of that is true. There was no big switch. It's the same people. It's the same people. To listen to him, you'd think we were still in the Jim Crow era and there was no advance in race relations for more than a century. These students deserve better from Joe Biden. Yes, under Joe Biden now, too, we have colleges going back to segregation. Yeah, and who begged for the segregation? Democrats did. They begged for segregation again. Yeah, so essentially, it says here, it kind of ends with an epitaph. Our children, the future of this country, deserve far better than what they're getting from our leaders, quote unquote, in DC these days. It's a sad state of affairs that they're just starting their lives and they're already believing they can never make it. Yeah, it is. But that's how the Democratic Party has built. Much of their foundation is built on, grift. The absolute grift. And so people have said, I said that Grand Wizard Klansman outfit perfectly represents Biden. Yeah. It's unfortunate, though, that for Joe, the cat's out of the bag. Most Black Americans don't experience overt racism, but are being taught to manufacture it via false flags. Jussie Smollett, fake lynching. Bubba Wallace, fake news. Al Sharpton, fake gang sexual violation of Tawana Brawley, and via the architecture of microaggressions. Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, and there's Lil Wayne saying, I didn't have racism. When I was shot in the chest, all these other black cops jumped over me to go get the guns and drugs from this crime scene because I was at a bad party. And then this white cop stopped and he's like, oh my gosh. And he told him, hey, just call me Uncle Bobby. I'm going to help you. And he saved his life. And Lil Wayne was like, yeah, this dude saved my life. There is no racism there. It's just if you want it to be. If you want to drum that up, if you want to resuscitate that zombie corpse, go ahead. And so Ultra MAGA says, that must be why he didn't want his children going to school with them. Yeah, remember that? I don't want them in a racial jungle. And that's my thumbnail right here, where it just says, right here, Biden said integrating black students would turn schools into a racial jungle, 1977. Yeah, he's always been a bigot, okay? He's always been a bigot. This is what he's good at. Joe Biden has always been good at this. America doesn't hate them. Democrats hate them. America does not hate black people. Democrats hate them because they're waking up and realizing they've been used for their votes again and again and shat upon by the Democrats again and again. I hope they all vote for Trump. This is pathetic and disgusting. It sounds like it was written by a young, white, progressive, snowflake, self-hating female. Prove me wrong. I can't. He's not losing support from them at all. They're perpetual victims. They want to hear stuff like this because they believe it's actually true. More conservative cucking. I disagree with that, though. He is losing support. I mean, no, factually he is. I mean, they've been going out and polling, and the numbers have increased. The number of people who said, I'm voting for Trump, who are black, those numbers have actually increased. So that's factually untrue. But there is a perpetual victimhood thing, but the Democrats are fueling this fire quite a bit. So I disagree with that. Meanwhile, leftist Dems on here keep asserting Republicans are dividing America. Deaf, dumb, and blind. This is pandering. So, yeah, let's see. The crowd knew this was his pandering crap. The applause was very thin. This was embarrassing. Democrats are obsessed with race. It's how they pick sides and divide us. These are disgusting remarks from the worst administration ever. I agree. I already made a video on that. Where I'm like, yeah, he's the worst president ever. Obama, he started all the division, but Biden is optically and, in every other way, he's the worst. How depressing. On one of the most successful and hopeful for the future days, these students were lied to by the President of the United States, telling them they were not good enough. Not good job. You have a wonderful future. OMG, home parents and grandparents see what he's doing and stops it. Whoa, that's a really hackneyed text. Did he also tell them they ain't black if they don't vote for him? Biden is reverting back to the man he was in the Senate, talking badly about black men. It is very concerning that he is so divisive. We need Trump, who will bring us back together and support all of us to benefit our country. But Biden was always that guy, though. He was always Mr. Divisive. He's not a creative person. Like, there's not much he's done in his 50 years in politics. He really hasn't, achievements wise. He hasn't achieved anything, unless you think achievements are when you have a loss or you pull out of Afghanistan and or you make the America energy dependent, completely dependent, or you collapse the economy. I guess you could, he may see that as achievements. I mean, by this, with his mind, yeah, who knows? Race baiting, race pandering, brazen pursuit of divisiveness. This is extremely disrespectful, undignified, shameful. And you hear it in the half-hearted, flaccid applause. Perfect description. Flaccid. Not a very hearty applause after that ridiculous statement. It doesn't appear that they are buying into the lies anymore. This is dangerous, it's inflammatory, and insightful and violent. He implied hate as the sentiment of the people that allegedly elected him. This can be charged as criminal hate speech in more than a few Democratic states as of today's circus. So uninspiring. Joe Biden is continuing the Barack Obama rhetoric of divisionism. This is truly disturbing. We have someone in the highest political office in the U.S. delivering a message of division rather than unity that he promised in his campaign. So anyway, you get the point. But the thing is now that they know, I promise, here's what's going to happen. When the elites and the powers that be, when they start to figure out that nobody's buying their rhetoric anymore, nobody's buying it, and they see those poll numbers that black Americans are going, maybe we should vote for Trump, I guarantee they will double, triple, quadruple down. And if they can't convince you, they will be hell-bent to cause destruction, to manipulate you. You know, they will get to the point where they're like, okay, we just have to force people to do our will. We can't allow them to be voting independent thinking citizens anymore. We're going to actually cause mass destruction. We're going to cause black swan events to get our way, because there is no value for human life. I'm dead serious. With somebody like Biden or Nancy Pelosi, I feel like they view human life has very little value except theirs. Other human lives are simply to make them, enrich them, and ingratiate their lives. So somebody said, this is truly a speech of an evil man. 5 people clap. They don't buy it anymore. Giving, let's see, that. What the hell is Biden talking about? Any of those kids have got this far and they didn't need a speech from a man who thinks black folk can't use a laptop and didn't want black kids mixing years ago. Also, they did even better. They didn't plagiarize anything like he did. Yeah, he actually is noted for his plagiarizing. And also lying about his degrees, stuff like that. Biden has lived off the government most of his life. He agrees with Lyndon B. Johnson's motto. Isn't it ironic that both men were and are white, wealthy, and racist? Remember, and I'll just say, a majority of these people in charge at the top, George Soros, Bill Gates, unelected or elected, doesn't matter, powerful people. Joe Biden, even though his mind's shot, Nancy Pelosi, like King Charles, whatever his name is now, these people, they drum up division. They drum up division among people. And when you get down to it, these guys go out there and they go, white people are bad, white people are bad. But in the end, you go, yeah, but this comes from you guys. You're all white. Larry Fink of BlackRock, you're white. And then I go, gosh, there's a pattern here. And I see Marxism. I see many, like some of these radical black groups going, oh, we're Marxists. White people are inherently racist. They always have been from the day they're born. They can't change. Rhetoric like that. And I'm like, yeah, but you're believing in a white guy. Karl Marx came up with this philosophy that you so adhere to. So it doesn't make sense. So anyway, Let's see. Always been a clown. What a wicked thing to say. I can't believe I'm hearing the President of the United States give a hate speech at a graduation ceremony. I'm going to end it with that because that's pretty much it. That is Biden's latest hate speech. And that is amazing. We're all sitting, everybody, the rest of the country sitting here, and we're going, the only hate speech I'm hearing right now is coming from the Biden White House. I'm dead serious. That's the majority of where it's coming from is them. And the media is their dog, is their bulldog to do their bidding. So it's coming from them, all trickling down. That's the only place I'm hearing this from. I think people can get along better, but they got to resuscitate this zombie corpse of racism. Every time they see the polls, and the polls say, people are thinking that racism is less of a problem in the country. Democrats will be like, dang it, we got to drum up some racism. We got to split some hairs and make sure people know that they're really different and they don't have anything in common and that they can't get along. And I'm like, I don't believe that. So anyway, let me know what you think of this wretched, filthy speech. And anyway, so have a good day. And thanks for watching, folks. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.